Good evening, PA Figs here. We're going to see if we can do a quick tour of the fig orchard before it gets too dark here. I may have to come back to this when it gets a little bit sunnier out. It was a nice, cool, rainy day today, and everything looks like they're in pretty good shape, so I figured I'd go around. So first, over by the steps here, we have a Col de Dame Nor, I believe. Let's see. Col de Dame Nor. And you can see it is starting to get some main crop figs. This guy is way too tall. I'm gonna have to air layer him. So for now I have him up against the house by the steps so that when it does ripen I can hopefully reach. Alright, moving on. I'm gonna have to do these kind of quick, so if anybody wants to see a certain one, just let me know and I'll take a different video. So this is a good old-fashioned Chicago Hardy. Haven't quite figured out where it's going to go in the orchard yet. Don't believe there are any Brabas on it. Chicago Hardy can get Brabas occasionally, but I don't see any. Okay, over here we have a Rob's Genovese Nero. And I was really hoping that this guy would get some figs this year. Or not figs, Brabas. Because the Braba on it last year I think was pretty good if I remember correctly. I do see there are some main crop getting ready to form here. But I do not see any Brabas on it. Kind of a bummer. Alright. Next we have Adriatic JH. And I think it is also getting ready to spit out some main crop. Doing well this year. It didn't do too good in the front yard last year, so I'm moving it out to the backyard and we'll see how it goes. It's a pretty good sized tree. One of the first ones that I rooted, to be honest. Okay, let's just go down the line here. Alright, next in this pot here is a Panavino Dark. I don't remember getting too many figs off of this last year. But I do think, let's see, I thought I saw a Braba. Yeah, there we go. And there is a Braba. Growing right on the bud of, the last bud of old wood. So I'll have that one to look forward to. I don't think there's any other Braba on this plant. Let's see, what do we have here? This is Borgia Salt Grise. I'm probably butchering the pronunciations, but what are you going to do? I had this guy in the greenhouse, so he has some main crop forming. Haven't had this one before, got it from my good friend Raphael, so we'll see how it tastes. Next is a Coledon Blanc. My original Coledon Blanc wasn't doing too hot. It kind of got stunted in the pot it was in, so this is a backup of it. I had it in the greenhouse for a little while, and you can see it's already producing figs. I don't remember who I got this from. It may be on the tag, but I don't feel like digging it out. So I haven't verified this one is true to form yet. The leaves look okay. So we'll see. It should be. Okay, next is Blava. I don't believe I've had figs from Blava yet. Kind of interesting. Some of the figs are already turning red, kind of like Violet de Bordeaux does. The figs will turn red real early. So this will be one to keep an eye on. These are all main crop. They were in the greenhouse for a while, so it really set a good crop though. A lot of figs on it. This is a Dominic fig. And this one is very similar to Chicago Hardy. I don't know if I got a lot of figs off of it last year. I think I got at least one or two. I just remember them being very similar to Heart of Chicago. This is my Col de Dame Grace. And I don't remember if there are any figs on this. Let's see. None up there. And I don't see any down here. Nothing forming yet. So we'll keep an eye on this guy. This is the Fico Bianco. Every year I say I'm going to get rid of this, and every year it puts out, one or two figs that are just spectacular. And then it puts out, 10 or 20 figs that are pretty insipid. Had a good Braba. I don't see any Brabas on it. I don't see any main crop forming yet. So no Brabas this year, which is a shame because this had a delicious Braba, if I remember correctly. I think that may have been what made me keep it, but no Brabas this year. Next is a Italian 258. I don't remember if I had this in the greenhouse. I think I may have had it in there for a very short while, where I put it straight into the hoop house. It looks like some main crop starting to form. I don't see any Brabas on this one. It's funny, the one, you know what, I bet you I started this one outdoors, because the ones that I had in the greenhouse all spit out a bunch of Brabas. The greenhouse is very good for getting Brabas to grow. Alright, one of my favorites. This is one of my black Maderas. This is my small black Madera tree. I had this in the greenhouse. And one thing about black Madera is if you can keep it healthy, it loves to put out figs. I mean, it absolutely loves spitting them out. I mean, you know, a smarter man than me would probably go ahead and thin the crop a little bit here. Get bigger, riper, earlier figs. But, what fun is that? This is my green Shia, one of my favorite green figs, if not my favorite. It woke up pretty early out here, surprisingly, but it has been sort of slow to grow. And it looks like it's getting ready to put out main crop, but nothing yet. Well, actually, those little guys there starting, so shouldn't be long. But this is a very long ripening fig, so hopefully it hurries up. All right, next is the JFE Black Madera. And I think my original thought of it not being the same as Black Madera is starting to fade. I look at the leaves today, and there are no leaves that don't look like Black Madera. Last year I said it didn't look like Black Madera because it had a lot of 5-lobe leaves. This year, I don't see a single one. Figs are tricky like that. That's why, you know, identifying figs is extremely, extremely difficult. But surprisingly, no figs poking out yet. Maybe a couple main crops starting in there. So I'm going to keep an eye on. This little guy here, I believe, is... I can never remember the name of this. I have it labeled Larg with 2 L's. I know there's a longer name for it. I can't remember it. I'll have to look it up. But it's putting out some beautiful main crop. The leaves got a little sunburned, so hopefully it starts spitting out some new leaves here soon. It's funny, that branch has a ton of figs. This branch, not a single fig on it. This is my panache. My panache has a love-hate relationship with me. I love the look of a panache, and it hates to produce for me. So it got pretty burned up in the greenhouse with the oil I had sprayed to take care of some of the pests I was having. And it is putting out some figs, but... Alright, come on, focus. But it is not enjoying the sun. You can see, it's just not enjoying life in general, but the figs are starting to form. And we'll see how it does. A couple of the branches look healthy. So... we'll keep our spirits high and hope to get some panache this year. The ones that I grew in the greenhouse last year, and they really were not that good. It does have a pretty wood bark to it, though. You can see the... Come on, focus. I think it's getting a little dark out. It's getting hard to focus. You can see the different patterns in the wood. It's quite pretty. All right, this little guy here is... this is my Madera Sica. I already got a fig off of this one this year. I had it in the greenhouse. No more ripe figs yet, but quite a few figs coming on it. This is one of my 3 Pretos. Kelby had come by and put a couple air layers on it last year. The one on the right is just finally starting to root. The one on the left is still not rooted, so I'm going to leave it on for a little while longer. I don't believe this is putting out main crop yet. It's going to be a tough year for Black Madera if these guys don't start producing here soon. But no main crop yet. Okay, this next monster. This is my Coledam Blanca Negra, and it is probably about 10 feet tall. And I've got 2 air layers on. I'm going to try to make 3 trees out of it. I'm going to cut basically the tops off of it, form trees out of them, and then let the bottom regrow. And if I remember correctly, this guy does have main crop starting somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. Main crop. So this is Blanca Negra. It's supposed to produce green as well as black fruit, all from the same tree without being grafted. So we'll see what happens. This is one of the favorites from last year. This is my Barnasote. Produced just a very beautiful fig. The shape and color was just spectacular. Don't think it is producing yet. It looks like main crop is starting to form on there. Just starting. Alright. This is my best Prato. You can see the shape on this tree is just beautiful. Really like how this one came out. And you'll notice all of my Pratos, and people, always argue with me, Prato is the same as Black Madera. Maybe, but maybe for whatever reason, this strain that I have, these Pratos all form this low branching type of tree. And to give you a comparison, to the right of it is my big Black Madera. And you can see it has more of a upright growth habit. All 3 of my Pratos do not. There is one exception, which is in the barrel right behind it there. And you can see that's put out a couple of limbs that are going straight up. That's the only one I've gotten to do that. So it's making me start to doubt myself. Either way, very similar figs. I have noticed the Prato did not split as easily in the greenhouse, but that could be caused by, I'm sure, other things as well. And let's see if this Prato has any main crop forming on it. Not yet. Man, these guys gotta hurry up. Gots to hurry up. I want to get a lot of those this year. Alright, let's move on before it gets too dark. Alright, this is my Maltese Beauty. Maltese Beauty has, I think, figs on it. Yeah, there they are. Whole bunch of main crop. I had this in the greenhouse for a while to give it a head start. Tell you what, if I could fit all of the figs in the greenhouse, even if just for like a month of a head start, what a difference it makes. Especially here in Pennsylvania. Okay, I believe this is my Angelo's Dark. Yep, Angelo's Dark. This was a great fig last year. Just starting to put out the main crop there, you can see it. But really, really great fig. It's similar to Hardy Chicago, but better. It was a much jammier inside and a little bit stronger of a flavor than the Chicago Hardy, but a very good fig. Beautiful cracking on the skin too. It's just gorgeous when it cracks like that. This is my Sicilian Black. This fig I had in a shady spot the first few years of its life. A couple main crops starting in there. Hard to see, but I had it in a shady spot the first couple of years of its life, and it was a very unique fig. And then I moved it out to a sunny spot, and it looked very much like Hardy Chicago. Not a lot of difference. So it's a beautiful shaped tree, which is kind of the reason that I'm keeping it. But we'll see how it does in terms of fruit production this year. Okay, next is, what is this? Oh, Black Acacia AD. So this was the one that I said was very similar to Violet de Bordeaux. I'm sorry, not Black Acacia AD. I'm thinking Nero 600. So the Black Acacia AD, not to be confused with UC Davis Black Acacia, very different. But this one does, I saw it somewhere earlier, have a Braba. There you go. Producing Braba. So this was not in the greenhouse, and that Braba is pretty far along, for size comparison. Here's my hand. So it's getting there. I think there may have been 1 or 2 more on this tree, but it's getting kind of dark, so I'm going to move on. Alright, behind it here is my Nero 600M, which has just turned into a monster. I mean, it just grows and grows. Unfortunately, a lot of these need to be root pruned. You'll see a couple that are not doing so hot because they need to be root pruned. But this is very similar to Violet de Bordeaux, if not the exact same. Both of them had 1 or 2 Brabas. Let's see, I found it earlier. Finding Brabas in this thing is not exactly easy. There it is. Alright, so you can just barely see it down there. Braba forming. So, you know, very similar to Black Acacia AD, although I will say the leaves are different. So, to me, different tree, very similar. This is my poor Negrone. Just really hasn't been doing well. It's my first tree I got. And for those of you that don't know, Negrone is the same thing as Valle de Bordeaux. Different regions they came from or something along those lines. But this guy really didn't do well. Last year it was in brutal shape. It's coming back a little stronger this year, but you can see the top has a lot of die-off on it. So we'll see what happens with it. This may be the year that this one gets kicked down the road. We'll see. This is my Malta Black. Again, it is a monster and just loves to grow. I cut some of the top off, but I got to cut a lot more off. I got to manage the tree size a little bit better. I don't think this has Brabas on it. It's hard for me to remember year to year which trees have Brabas and which don't. It's starting to put out some main crop up there. You can just barely see them. Alright, and this is my RDB. I have a feeling this one really needs to be root pruned. It's straggly this year and just not looking its normal self. Normally it is flush with leaves and big leaves and one of my strongest growers. But this year it just does not look happy, so I think it's probably root bound. It's probably time to root prune it. One bad thing about those big self-watering pots is they are a pain in the butt to root prune. Getting them out, root pruning it, and then getting it back in. Usually you gotta replace the mesh wire in there, and it's just a pain. I hate doing it. I've been sort of staying away from them just due to that reason. I mean, yeah, it lasts 2-3 years, but yeah, I just hate doing it. So, RDB, not growing real strong. I don't think there's any. There's a couple of main figs getting ready to spit out. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus on it. Come on. There you go. You can see the main fig starting to come out. Didn't produce real well last year, and this year looks like it's going to be even worse. Alright. And this is another one of my Pretos. This is the only Preto I have. You can see it had started with that low style, but now it has a couple suckers coming up. Those two suckers are coming up nice and straight. This guy over here is all wilted for some reason. Not sure what's going on with him. Might have water. So the plastic bags looped around him. Might be too tight. I'll have to come out and play with that. Doesn't look like he's enjoying that plastic being around him. Another air layer on there. You can see the tin foil protecting it from the sun. Does this guy have any main crop? This guy looks like he's at least starting to put out the main crop, getting ready to. And then my big black Madera, not doing real well this year either. I did root prune it last year, and I used a compost that I got. It was a compost sand mix that I got from the local nursery that I actually got for the garden and raised beds. And I can tell you the figs hate it. And man, as much as I hate to pull this guy out, I might have to pull him out. We'll see how he does, but I may have to pull him out and change the soil out again, which is very aggravating because it is not easy getting a tree this big out. Alright, let's see if we can go see a few more trees over here quick. I'm running out of light. So I'll have to do the side yard another day because I am out of time here. This is my Martenica ramata. Again, it was in the greenhouse. It got really affected by the oils and stuff that I was spraying. Got a bag on here just to see how it does with some of the figs that are getting ready to ripen. I'm seeing if I can bag all of my figs this year, if maybe it'll help with the SWD I had. Some new growth coming out after the other leaves got burnt pretty bad by the oil I put on it. A little too dark to go in the greenhouse, so I'll have to save those figs for another time. Now over here, so this is what I do when I have figs that are in the greenhouse. If I take them out of the greenhouse and put them straight into the yard, they get sunburned very badly. And you can see, even over here in the shade behind the greenhouse, they still get some sunburn. But it's better than putting them straight out in the sun. So again, it's getting a little dark out here, so might come back to these guys. But this is my Bordeaux Negra Ramada that is no longer variegated. Still produces some great figs. And this is one of my Brogiotto Neros. I really should have root pruned it. It's only a 5-gallon bucket. I did not root prune it, and I'm paying for it now. It is really not putting out very good growth. Big tree, small bucket, not good. Violet de Bordeaux. Again, I should have root pruned this one. I actually may have last year. Can't remember, but it's doing okay. Not great, but okay. And I'll have to get back to some of these other ones. It's just getting too dark out here. Little Coldidon Blanc. Looking to get rid of this. I think I have a buyer, a friend of mine that I usually cut a pretty good deal on little trees I'm trying to get rid of, but it's just in a little self-watering pot. Believe it or not, this tree is quite a bit older than you'd expect. I think I've had this tree for over 2 years now. I kind of dwarfed it by keeping it in this tiny little pot here, keeping it in the greenhouse. A little bumper mandarin. And over here is my Genovese Nero AF, the Raphael version. Not Raphael, I'm sorry, the Raffed version. Next to an Italian 258. And I'm just letting them both grow. Put them side by side somewhere so that we can see the differences, more likely similarities between the two. Because it's my feeling that they are, if not identical, extremely similar figs. But I should get a pretty decent crop off of both of this year, so we should be able to get a good sample size and comparison. Alright guys, I'm running out of light, so I'm PA Figs. I'll get back to the rest of these another day. Have a good night.